Hidden beneath India's grand palaces and ancient temples lie stories that were never meant to be forgotten. Stories of mosques, once filled with the echo of the adhan, now silenced and transformed beyond recognition. Some became temples, some became palaces, and some simply erased. This is the forgotten tale of India's lost mosques, where faith, art, and power collided. Part 1: The Lost Glory of Islamic Architecture. For centuries, India stood as a meeting ground of worlds, where ideas, cultures, and civilizations collided to create something new. Among the most beautiful results of that fusion was Islamic architecture, which reshaped India's skyline from Delhi to Gujarat, from Bengal to the Deccan. When early Muslim dynasties arrived in India, they brought with them not just armies, but artists, calligraphers, craftsmen, and architects from Persia, Central Asia, and Arabia. Yet instead of erasing the local traditions, they blended them, creating a style that was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Imagine walking through a city in the 13th or 14th century. The air hums with the sound of prayers, traders, and poets. Marble domes rise above sandstone walls, decorated with Quranic calligraphy and intricate geometric carvings. Light filters through lattice screens, painting the floors with patterns of gold. These weren't just buildings, they were living expressions of faith, art, and identity. The early example of this transformation can be seen in Delhi, at the Quwat al-Islam Mosque, built in 1193 CE by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak. It was one of India's first mosques, standing beside the towering Qutb Minar, the world's tallest brick minaret of its time. The mosque's walls were made from stones taken from older Hindu and Jain temples. But instead of hiding that, it displayed them. You can still see floral motifs, broken pillars, and ancient carvings, standing side by side with verses from the Quran. It was as if history itself had merged into one body of stone. Then came the Sharki dynasty of Jaunpur, who gave India the stunning Atala Mosque, a structure so massive and graceful that even Mughal emperors admired it centuries later. Its huge gateway, with towering arches and calligraphy in sandstone, showed a balance between strength and spirituality. Further west, in Gujarat, mosques like the Jama Masjid of Ahmedabad and the Sidi Said Mosque introduced a level of artistry rarely seen. The famous stone-carved Jali, the tree of life, still leaves visitors in awe. Each branch and leaf was carved by hand over 500 years ago, yet it still seems to breathe with life today. Across India, these mosques became centers of learning, not just prayer. They hosted scholars who taught astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and mathematics, continuing the legacy of the Islamic Golden Age. They were living universities, places where light, both spiritual and intellectual, met. But time changes everything. As empires rose and fell, many of these mosques were abandoned, reused, or even reinterpreted as palaces and temples. Yet their stones remain, whispering the same stories to those who listen closely. These structures remind us that beauty is born from unity, from the meeting of cultures and hearts. The mosques of India were not foreign intrusions, but part of India's own soul, a golden chapter that still glows beneath layers of dust and time. Part 2: When mosques became temples. Across India, time has the power to change everything: names, stories, even the meaning of sacred places. Among the most striking examples of this transformation are mosques that became temples, their original identity slowly rewritten over centuries. One of the most well-known is the Adhai-din Ka Janpura in Ajmer, Rajasthan. At first glance, it looks like an ancient Hindu or Jain temple, filled with intricate carvings and pillars covered in floral designs. But look closer, and you'll see something different. Arabic inscriptions, Quranic verses, and mihrabs carved into its walls. This mosque was built in 1192 CE by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak, one of the earliest rulers of the Delhi Sultanate. Its name, Adhai-din Ka Janpura, means the hut of 2.5 days. Legends say it was built in that short time, though historians believe it took longer. Originally, it was a place of Islamic learning and worship, filled with calligraphy and arches. But when political power changed hands, its story began to blur. Over time, locals began to describe it as an old temple. And today, many tourists see it that way, unaware of its true origin. This story isn't unique. Across northern India, there are many such structures, their identity fading with the passing centuries. In Varanasi, the city known as the heart of Hindu spirituality, stands the Jayanvapi Mosque, built beside the Kashi Vishwanath temple. This mosque was constructed during the Mughal era, and for hundreds of years it stood peacefully alongside the temple. But later, in times of conflict and political tension, its existence became a symbol of division. Even today, it stands in the middle of debate, a reminder of how faith and history can become entangled. Further east, in places like Jaunpur and Bihar, mosques with domes and arches were gradually converted or reinterpreted. Some were renamed as temples after being left in ruins, their inscriptions erased, and their courtyards repurposed for other forms of worship. But what makes this transformation most fascinating is not the physical change. It's the silence that surrounds it. When a mosque becomes a temple, its history doesn't vanish. It simply becomes hidden, buried under layers of new stories, new rituals, and new beliefs. For many of these buildings, the stones still speak. A mihrab still points toward Mecca, even when an idol stands in front of it. The calligraphy may be worn, but its rhythm remains, echoing faintly beneath the carvings added later. These places are not symbols of division. They are symbols of India's layered history, a reminder that empires may rise and fall, but art and architecture always carry memory. The mosques that became temples teach us something powerful, that history is not black and white. It is made of countless shades: faith, pride, loss, and the human desire to belong. Even when rewritten, these mosques still whisper their truth, quietly through stone and time. Part 3: When mosques became palaces. In the long journey of India's history, not all mosques were turned into temples. Some met a different fate. They were transformed into palaces. What was once a place of prayer became a symbol of royal power, beauty, and luxury. The walls that once echoed with the words Allahu Akbar now echoed with the sounds of music, laughter, and the politics of kings. When Islamic dynasties fell and new rulers rose, they often took over the magnificent mosques and buildings left behind. These weren't ordinary structures. They were architectural masterpieces, strong and beautiful enough to stand for centuries. For a new ruler, using them as palaces or courts was both practical and symbolic. It showed power and it claimed history itself. One such story lies in the ancient city of Jaunpur, in northern India. The city was once ruled by the Sharki dynasty, who built some of the most beautiful mosques in the subcontinent. The Lal Darwaza Mosque, built in 1447 CE, was not just a mosque. It was a royal sanctuary. It was commissioned for Queen Raja Bibi, the wife of Sultan Mahmud Sharki. Made of deep red sandstone, its arches and domes glowed like fire under the setting sun. After the fall of the Sharki rule, this grand mosque and the nearby royal complex were claimed by later powers, who treated it not as a sacred space, but as a palace courtyard. The prayers faded, but the grandeur remained. Farther west, in the once imperial city of Fatehpur Sikri, the line between mosque and palace almost disappears. Emperor Akbar built this city in the 1500s as a symbol of his empire's unity, combining Islamic, Persian, and Indian ideas. Within its walls stands the breathtaking Jama Masjid, facing the marble tomb of Sheikh Salim Chishti. When the Mughal court later moved away, Fatehpur Sikri was abandoned. Centuries later, British historians and travelers called it the ghost city of palaces. They didn't realize that many of those palaces were actually mosques and prayer halls, their purpose forgotten, their silence mistaken for royal emptiness. In Bidar, Gulbarga, and Ahmadnagar in the Deccan, many mosque complexes were also reused by local kings. Their high domes, vast courtyards, and cooling corridors made them perfect for royal gatherings. Some became music halls. Others became royal baths or treasury chambers. The transformation was practical, yet it erased centuries of spiritual heritage. Still, even after being reshaped, these buildings hold a special aura. The arches, the domes, the geometry, all speak of faith and artistry. You can stand in a hall that was once a mosque and feel both royal and sacred energy blending together. It's as if the stones remember both, the hands of the worshipper and the steps of the king. The mosques that became palaces tell a story beyond conquest. They remind us that power changes form, but beauty survives. And deep within every wall once touched by prayer, there remains a quiet dignity, a voice of the past whispering, "This was once holy." Part 4: Why these transformations happened. History is not made of single moments, it is a chain of change. Every empire leaves its shadow, and every new ruler stands upon the stones of the old. The story of India's mosques turning into temples or palaces is not only about faith, it is about time, power, and survival. When we look back at the centuries between the 12th and 18th century, India was a land of constant transformation. Dynasties rose and fell like waves: the Delhi Sultanate, the Mughals, the Rajputs, the Marathas, and later the British. Each brought its own culture, its own beliefs, and its own way of marking territory. And the easiest way to claim power was to redefine the symbols of the last ruler, not always to destroy them, but to reshape them. In many cases, when Muslim rule declined, new rulers inherited cities filled with mosques, grand, solid, and built with unmatched craftsmanship. Instead of letting them decay, some were repurposed, a practical decision as much as a political one. A mosque already had wide courtyards, strong walls, and beautiful domes. All it needed was a change of purpose. A mihrab could become a royal throne niche. A minaret could become a watchtower. A prayer hall could become a darbar, a court of kings. But not all changes were gentle. Some were driven by conflict and conquest. When one empire defeated another, they often sought to rewrite the story of the land. Turning a mosque into a temple or palace wasn't just a change of architecture. It was a message of dominance, a way of saying, the old order has ended, a new one begins. It was symbolic power carved into stone. Yet, history is rarely so simple. In some regions, transformations happened peacefully. When communities moved, cities shifted, and worship simply faded away. Over time, locals reused the empty structures for other purposes. Sometimes, no one even remembered who built them. The walls stayed, but the stories disappeared. There was also the natural decay of time. When earthquakes, wars, or neglect damaged mosques, people rebuilt them in new forms, blending Hindu, Jain, and later colonial styles. A dome would remain, but an idol would be placed beneath it. To the next generation, that building was always a temple. They didn't know it had ever been a mosque. This is how memory turns into myth. So these transformations weren't always acts of hatred. They were reflections of how humans adapt, reuse, and reinterpret the world around them. Each change added a new layer to India's story, a story of survival, creativity, and constant rebirth. What makes this history haunting is not the transformation itself, but the silence that followed. No plaques, no inscriptions, no acknowledgement of what came before. The past was buried quietly, as if the stones themselves agreed to forget. But they didn't. Look closely at the arches, the patterns, the symmetry, and you'll see the truth still hiding in plain sight. Because no matter how history tries to rewrite them, the stones remember. Part 5: A reflection: what these mosques teach us. When you walk through the ruins of an old mosque, its domes cracked, its minaret broken, its arches silent, you can still feel something alive. It's not just the wind that moves through the hollow halls. It's the breath of history, whispering stories of what once was. These mosques, once filled with prayer, light, and learning, now stand as mirrors of time. They remind us that civilizations rise and fall, faiths shift, and kings come and go, but the spirit of what was built with sincerity never truly dies. Every brick laid by a craftsman 500 years ago still carries his devotion. Every carving still holds a memory, a verse, a voice, a vibration of the divine. Even when the world forgets, the stones remember. When a mosque becomes a temple or a palace, it tells a story far deeper than politics or religion. It speaks of how human beings crave continuity, how we reshape the old to fit the new, how we inherit beauty even when we no longer understand it. Sometimes we do it out of reverence, sometimes out of power, and sometimes simply to survive. But perhaps the greatest lesson these mosques teach us is about identity and memory. A civilization that forgets its past cannot understand its present. To erase the story of these mosques is to erase a part of India's own soul, a chapter that once brought together the artistry of Persia, the science of Arabia, and the craftsmanship of India. These structures were born from unity, not division. They blended local and foreign, Hindu and Muslim, Indian and Persian, to create something entirely new, something that belonged to everyone. That is the true essence of Indian Islamic architecture. Not conquest, but coexistence carved in stone. So when we see a mosque that has become something else, we shouldn't only see loss, we should also see survival. Because despite centuries of change, destruction, and silence, they still stand. They've outlived empires, revolutions, and even the hands that built them. They are not dead monuments, they are living witnesses. And in their silence, they ask us a question. What do we choose to remember? And what do we allow to be forgotten? If we look at them with open eyes, they remind us that beauty is not bound to one faith. It is the language of humanity, a prayer carved in stone, spoken in many tongues, but understood by all hearts. So the next time you pass an old ruin or a forgotten dome hidden behind the walls of a palace, pause, listen. The echo you hear might not just be the wind. It might be the faint memory of an adhin that once called the world to peace. Because in the end, these mosques do not belong to one people or one religion. They belong to time itself. And through them, time whispers softly. Nothing truly disappears, only changes form. If we forget these mosques, we forget a piece of who we are. History isn't meant to be divided, it's meant to be understood. So the next time you walk through an old palace or temple in India, look closer. Maybe, just maybe, you'll see the shadow of a mirror beneath the paint. And remember the mosque that once was.